Hello, karibu tena kwenye mafunzo yetu ya programming. Leo tunaenda kuangalia mfano wa namna operator precedence zinavyo work kwenye C. Okay, kudemonstrate hii kitu tutaangalia arithmetic progression. Tutaangalia formula ya kutafuta sum katika arithmetic progression. Wote tunafahamu kwamba kama umesoma mathematics, arithmetic progression, sum of n terms in an arithmetic progression is given by n over 2 in brackets 2 times a1 plus n in brackets n minus 1 times d times d, and all of this in brackets. So this is the formula for the sum of n terms of an arithmetic progression. So in order to implement such logic, we need first to define some variables. But in this case, our variables have to be float because we are dividing. Then the value, if we do not put float, the values will be different. The values won't be correct actually. So we need to define variable float sum, and then float sum, float d as the difference, and then float n as the number of items, as the number of items to be added, right? So if we want to find the sum of these numbers, we also need to define float a1, right? If we divide integers and if we try and divide integers, the decimal point will be removed. So it's better to use this one. So we need to say sum is equal to, now we can write the formula and say n divide in programming is just slash by 2. It's just this slash by 2, and then we need to times and then brackets and then 2 times a1 plus brackets n minus 1 times d, and that is the formula. So the way we've written this formula, tunaona kabisa kwamba n minus 1 ipo ndani ya brackets, and then brackets za nje ziko hapa 2 mara a1 jumlisha n minus 1 mara d, and then tunazidisha na n over 2, maana tunagawanya n gawanya kwa 2. Kwa sasa tunachoona hapa ni kwamba according to the rules of programming, the first one to be evaluated is n minus 1 because it is the innermost brackets, because we start with brackets, and if there are brackets inside brackets, then we start with the inner brackets, and then after evaluation, this one on the outer brackets will be evaluated, and then after that, then division will be evaluated, and then multiplication. So this one will be evaluated and times the result of this whole thing, and then the result will be given. So if we run this, it won't give our answers yet because we haven't initialized anything. So let's assume our arithmetic progression maybe is 1 3 5 7 9, right? And let's say we have 11, and maybe we want to find the sum of the first 5 terms, so these terms here. So our n now, because we are finding the first 5 terms, our n will be 5. Our d, as you can see, 3 minus 1, 5 minus 3 is 2, so our d is 2. And our a1 now, because we started with 1, then our a1 is 1. Now if we sum from 9 to 1, the result is 25. So if we run this now, because we've already initialized these values, so the value of sum will hold the total, which is 25. So we need to say printf the sum is, and then percentage f, because we're expecting a float, and then pass the sum. Okay, so now let's try and run. So as we can see, the answer, the sum is 25. The sum is 25, so our program is working correctly. Now, if we change anything here, maybe remove the brackets here. If we remove these brackets, we won't get the right answer, because what the program will do, what the computer will do, will first evaluate the brackets. We evaluate this inside the brackets, right? If we evaluate this one inside the brackets and say 2 times a1, and then negative 1 times d, right? So d is 2, so 2 times 1, 2, and then 2 times a1, right? 2 times a1 is 1, so it's going to be 2 minus 2, it's going to be 0 plus n. N is 5, so it's going to be 5. 5 times 5, 25 divided by 2. So if we run this, we can see the result is 12.5, which is not correct, because we have just changed, we have removed the brackets, so we've changed the order in which this program is going to be executed. Or if, for example, if we remove these brackets here, then it's going to be also different, because this multiplication here, this one here, is going to be evaluated first. This one here first is going to be evaluated, and then this one will follow, and then this one will follow, which might result into a different result. So let's try. Well, if we want to do that, okay, it would be 5 minus 1, which is 4, times d, which is 2, right? And here 5 over 2 times 2, it will be 5 over 4, times 1, it will be 5 over 4, plus this one, which is 8 actually. So 8 plus 2.5, which is 10.5. So still the answer is not correct. So it's 13. I think we made an error there. But as we can see, the result is different, because if you remove these brackets, then the order of execution is going to change because of the order of precedence. And this marks the end of this tutorial. Next, we are going to take a look at logical operators. Thank you.